Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐥 Sharma.
Hello everyone, welcome to ForumIAS. I'm 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐴. In this video, we're going to discuss the Hindu Daily for today, that is 21st of September 2023. So these are the articles that we're going to discuss today. So here you can see it's a giant leap for a new ethics in outer space and also many other articles. So let's get started with this. So here is our first article, that is taking a giant leap for a new ethics in outer space. So let's have a look at this particular article. So, with the International Geophysical Year in 1958 seeing many players becoming active in Antarctica, fears of a Cold War rivalry taking unexpected turns, United States President Eisenhower convened in 1959 an Antarctic Conference. So, this Antarctic Conference it was held in 1959, and this was by 12 countries which were active in Antarctica during that year. So, that was to negotiate a treaty between them. So this is because, especially, it is human to get the itch to get first and fast, right? So there is a lot of competition, especially at that time, to go to Antarctica, that is the southern pole. So there was a lot of competition which country would go first, which country would plant their flag first on the soil of Antarctica, that is at the south pole. So there was a lot of competition at that particular time. So there was a Antarctic Conference in 1959 by 12 countries which were active in Antarctica at that particular time so that they can negotiate a treaty. And the Earth's seas and ice are different from the sky and its peers, but we know that there has long been a Antarctic type race in the outer space between the powers. So similar to the competition that was present in Antarctica in those years, right now we have this competition in the outer space, right? So there were a lot of countries which were competing, that is almost before 11 decades ago, approximately in 1910 to 12. Everyone was very competitive to go to this northern hemisphere and also to the south pole. So a lot of countries were having a competition to set their foot first on the southern pole and to plant their flags in Antarctica. So similar to that, right now we are having a race in outer space between various parts of the world. So there you can also see that in the recent times we have seen various countries are competing to go to the outer space. But what happens is when many countries are trying to go to this outer space, there will be a lot of problems. For example, one important problem is the space debris. Right, so when we are trying to send lot of space crafts, etc., to the outer space, there will be a built-up of space debris. So, what would be the problem with the space debris? So, if there is some space debris, that is, for example, those spacecrafts who have which have completed their lifetime, etc., they're still revolving around in the outer space. So, what happens is when we are sending a particular spacecraft, it may have a collision with that particular space debris. Right. So there would be a lot of problems with the space debris. So we have to clean it up, and for cleaning it up, also, a lot of countries are taking various initiatives. So what we can say is instead of having such a competition between various countries, we can have a consensus and we have to use the outer space properly. Instead of having a competition like which country would go first, we can have a consensus between the countries and we can use the outer space effectively for our needs. So, just as the world's engagement with Antarctica led to a treaty. So, here we have seen that at that time there was a lot of competition to go to Antarctica. So, there was a conference so that they can negotiate a treaty regarding this. So, similarly, we have this Moon Agreement adopted by the General Assembly in 1979 in Resolution 3468. So, this elaborated on many provisions of this Outer Space Treaty. So, we'll also have a look at this Outer Space Treaty. So, this provides that space probing humanity's dealings with the moon, it should be exclusively for peaceful purposes. That means it should not be used for military purposes. So only for peaceful purposes we have to use this moon and this outer space. So this is according to this moon agreement, so that when countries are trying to send some spacecraft to the moon, that should be definitely aiming at some peaceful purposes, but not for any kind of military purpose. And a new ethics for human activity in outer space. This has to be inaugurated, including the Earth's responsibilities to the outer space debris. So, when we are sending some spacecrafts and if it is leading to space debris, who would be responsible for that? We people on the Earth who are sending these various spacecrafts, we are responsible to clean up all those space debris in the outer space. So, it does our responsibility, that is our Earth's responsibility towards this outer space debris. So this is one ethics that we have to follow for human activity in outer space. And this new ethic, it must make sure that non-militarization of outer space is a non-negotiable covenant. That means whatever spacecrafts we are sending to the moon and to the outer space, this should be only for peaceful purposes but not for any kind of military purposes. So this has to be ensured, and also our space debris has to be cleaned up. So this is what is the responsibility of us towards the outer space, right? So this is one article that we have to remember as of today. So this is one important article that we have. So here you can see we have come across this outer space treaty. So what is this outer space treaty? So first of all, remember the year, that is 1967. So outer space treaty, it was in 1967. So formally it is known as Treaty on Principles Governing the Activities of States in the Exploration and Use of Outer Space. So with this formal title itself, you'll get to know what is the objective of this outer space treaty. That means those countries who are trying to explore the outer space and also who are trying to use the outer space for various purposes, like be it for scientific purposes or to know more about our outer space, etc., for any use, if we are going to explore the outer space, then what are the principles that those states have to follow? So when we are sending a particular spacecraft and we are trying to do some particular activities over there on the moon or in the outer space, we have to definitely follow some principles. So what are those guiding principles? That particular principles, so those are listed over in this outer space treaty. And under this outer space, it also includes the moon and also other celestial bodies. So it's a treaty that lays down the foundation of international space law. So internationally, whichever country is trying to explore the outer space and use the outer space, for them this would be a guiding treaty on what principles have to be followed when they're using the outer space and when they are also trying to explore the outer space. And it also includes the outer space, the moon, and also other celestial bodies. And do remember the year, it is 1967. And here one more important point that you have to remember is, whenever you are going to go through any study any kind of international treaties, etc., you have to see whether India is a party to it or not, or India is a signatory to it or not. So here in terms of outer space treaty, yes, India is a party to the outer space treaty. So this is one important point that you have to remember. And what are prohibited in under this particular treaty, this is also one more point that we have to know. So this treaty prohibits countries from placing nuclear weapons or any other weapons of mass destruction into orbit around the earth. So this is the earth, so we are sending some spacecrafts into the outer space. So we should ensure that any country must not place any kind of nuclear weapon around the orbit around the earth, right? So non-militarization should happen, and this should be only for peaceful purposes. When we are using our outer space, it should be only for peaceful purposes but not for any kind of military purpose. So any kind of weapons of mass destruction or any other nuclear weapons, these should not be placed into the orbit around the earth. So this is strictly prohibited according to our Outer Space Treaty of 1967, and it also restricts the use of such weapons on celestial bodies. For example, here we have seen that around the in the orbit around the Earth, we must not place any kind of nuclear weapons and weapons of mass destruction. So, how about the moon and other celestial bodies? There also we cannot uh, deploy any kind of nuclear weapons or any other weapons of mass destruction, be it on other celestial bodies like moon or in the outer space. So it strictly restricts the use of such weapons, and all parties to the treaty, it agrees to use them exclusively for peaceful purposes. So when a country has signed this particular treaty, it means that that country, if it is sending some spacecraft to the moon or into the outer space or to any other celestial body, it has to ensure that it is only for a peaceful purpose but not for any kind of military purpose, or it is not deploying any kind of nuclear weapons or weapons of mass destruction. So this is about this particular editorial, that is taking a giant leap for a new ethics in outer space. So even in the outer space, countries have to follow these ethics. So everything has to be only for peaceful purposes. Right. So this also leads to non-militarization, and competition has to be reduced to send more and more spacecraft to outer space, and also the space debris. So countries have to be wary of this space debris. Then coming to our next editorial, it is 3 years of Abraham Accords. So this Abraham Accords is also important for us from examination point of view, from international relations point of view for GS2, whereas this outer space treaty one is important for us from science and technology and space from GS3 point of view, and this comes under our GS2. So first of all, Abraham Accords, they were signed between which all countries? This is the first point that we have to know. So Abraham Accords, they were signed between Israel, United Arab Emirates, UAE, and Bahrain, and this was done under the auspices of the US government. That means under the auspices of the US government, these three countries, they have signed this Abraham Accords, that is Israel, UAE, and Bahrain. And after 3 months, so once this Abraham Accords were signed, after 3 months in December 2020, one more country joined this particular process, that is Morocco. So Morocco is in Africa. So it has also signed a normalization agreement with Israel. So here we can see, so here in terms of these kinds of treaties, the geography of these countries is equally important. So let's have a look at these countries. So we have seen that we have UAE, we have Bahrain, and then we have Israel. So these are the three countries which have signed this particular Abraham Accords first. And after these Abraham Accords were signed under the auspices of the US, then later, 3 months later, this Morocco, it has joined this particular Abraham Accords. So Morocco is within this African continent, as you can see over here. Right. So this is these countries are in the Middle East. So here we have Bahrain, here we have United Arab Emirates, here we have Israel, and this is our Morocco, which has joined 3 months later. So whenever we have such countries in news, you have to be definitely aware of their geographical location. Right. Because a lot of times countries which are in news, they will be important for us from map pointing questions point of view for prelims. So do remember the location of these countries. So Israel, UAE, and Bahrain that we have seen, and then Morocco has joined this particular accords 3 months later. So why did this historic accords were signed? So what is the main objective of this? So this is one thing that we have to remember, because this week it marks an important milestone for West Asia and also North Africa. So this is our West Asia part, and this is our Northern Africa. So they have signed this particular Abraham Accords, and it has completed 3 years. So this is why it is in news. So the objective of this is to promote a stable future for West Asia. So as we know, this is our West Asian region, and for this West Asian region, to promote a stable future for West Asia, with that particular objective, they've come up with this historic accords, that is Abraham Accords. So this is one thing that we have to remember. and this has definitely assured a new era of normalization and peace, and that only connect not only connects these governments, but also it brings people together. When these countries have signed these kinds of accords, what will happen is the governments of these countries gets connected, and also there would be a connection between people to people, connection would also increase, right? So though there are differences in their languages, their religious beliefs, their cultures, all these might be different, but there would be a more and more connection between these people, and also between the governments which have signed this particular accords. And if you see the scope of trade between Israel and other West Asian countries, it has increased to it has increased 74% between 2021 and 2022, right? And also, along with the cooperation between the governments increase, people to people engagement would increase. And one more thing is tourism also increases. So this is one more thing that we have to remember. Tourism will also increase. And if you look at the year 2021, for example, visits from from Israel to UAE, it has increased almost 172%. So people visiting from Israel to UAE, it increased 172%. That is, tourism has definitely increased a lot. And the number of Israel's people flying to Bahrain since the establishment of direct flights, it has also increased a lot. And we also have one more important group, that is I2U2 group. So what are the countries that we have in this I2U2? It is Israel, India, UAE, and US. So we know here we have Israel, and here we have UAE, and here we have India, and then we have US. So this is what is our I2U2. So this is one more point that you have to remember, I2U2. So what are the countries that are involved in this? And Abraham Accords, it made the I2U2 group possible. And what is the focus of this I2U2 group? So this will be on joint investments in critical areas. So why was this particular group formed? It is focusing upon joint investments. In which areas? It would be in terms of water, energy, transportation, space, health, and food security. So in terms of all these areas, there would be joint investments by these four countries, that is Israel, India, UAE, and US. So this is what is our I2U2 group. So Abraham Accords, it also helped this I2U2 group, right? So there would be a high level economic cooperation between these governments by the establishment of this I2U2 group. So this is one point that we have to remember. So this is about our Abraham Accords. So our nations, they share a special bond with India and also with its people. All these countries have lot of bonding and good relations with India, so they remain committed to realizing this full potential of these accords as partners in peace and prosperity. So this is one thing that we have to remember, and also do remember the geography of these countries which are involved under this Abraham Accords. So moving forward to the next article, this is Lok Sabha passes historic Women's Reservation Bill. So this Women's Reservation Bill, it was passed. So let's have a look at some of the provisions. Since we have already discussed yesterday regarding this Women's Reservation Bill, so hope you have already watched that video. So yesterday also we have discussed about this Women's Reservation Bill. So today it was passed by the Lok Sabha. So 27 years after a women's reservation bill was first introduced in the parliament. So when was it first introduced? It was introduced 27 years ago. Right. So it was not this time that it was first introduced. This was introduced back in before 27 years. So after such a long time, when it was introduced in parliament, Lok Sabha, now it has passed this bill with almost near unanimity, right? So this is to amend the constitution, and it will provide one third reservation to women. So where does this one third reservation apply? This applies in our Lok Sabha and also in the state assemblies. So this is one point that you have to remember. So this bill was first introduced back uh, 27 years ago, and also this will provide 1/3 reservation to women. And where is this reservation provided? It is provided in both Lok Sabha and also in the state assemblies. So what will happen to this bill now? So Lok Sabha, it has passed this particular bill. It is almost a unanimous thing, right? So almost unanimously it was passed. So what would be the future of the bill? This will be taken up further by the Rajya Sabha now. So Rajya Sabha, it has to pass this in the remaining 2 days of this special session of the parliament. So whatever special session of the parliament is going on, still we have 2 days remaining in that, and within those 2 days, Rajya Sabha, it has to pass this particular bill, right? And also it might require approval from half of the states. So this is what is the future of this bill. So it now goes to Rajya Sabha, and in yesterday's article we have also discussed about this various kinds of amendments, that is 3 types of amendments or 3 ways in which we can amend, that is various kinds of majorities that are needed for different kinds of bills to be passed in the parliament. So do have a look at that particular video also. Right. So with 454 members of the Lok Sabha supporting the Constitution 128th Bill 2023. So the bill number is also equally important. So it is 128th Bill, that is 2023. So with 454 members of Lok Sabha supporting this bill, the constitutional requirement of 2/3 majority of the members present and voting, it was easily met. That means those members who are present, and also from them those who are voting on that particular day, from then we need a 2/3 majority. So there were almost 454 members who have supported this particular bill. So this requirement, it was easily met. And the decision to implement this reservation after delimitation, this is to ensure that a quasi-judicial body like the Delimitation Commission, it can decide after public consultation which seats to reserve. So yesterday also we have seen that though we have elections in 2024, this would not be implemented. Even if this bill is passed in this year, that is in 2023, this shall not be implemented in the 2024 elections. It would be implemented only in 2029. So after this delimitation exercise is completed, so after the public consultation, like which seats should be reserved, so after all these decisions were taken, then it would be implemented in the year 2029, but not in 2024. So this is one more point that you have to remember regarding this bill. So moving forward to the next article, this is regarding the Constitution Bench to examine validity of extending the quota. Right. So a Constitution Bench, it will examine whether this extensions that are granted. So there were extensions that were granted to SC and ST. So where are these extensions granted? In Lok Sabha and also in the state assemblies. So whatever reservations or extensions are granted to the reservation for SCs and STs, that is scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, in the Lok Sabha and also in the state assemblies, are they constitutionally valid or not? So this will be examined by our Constitution Bench. Right. So this is why it is in news today. So originally, Constituent Assembly, it had meant reservation for SC/STs only for a period of 10 years from the commencement of the Constitution in 1950. So as we know, our Constitution commenced in the year 1950. At that time, what did our Constituent Assembly say? It said that we'll provide reservation for SCs and STs up to a period of 10 years from the commencement of the Constitution. That means until 1960, we'll be providing this reservation to SCs and STs. But what happened? However, Article 334 of the Constitution. So what do we have under this Article 334? It dealt with the time period to seize the reserving seats for SCs, STs and also Anglo-Indians. So whatever article we have, Article 334, which deals with this time period for stopping this particular reservation. So they said from 1950 to 1960 until 10 years will provide this reservation, and then these reservations cease to exist, and this is provided under our article 334. But what was done is it was amended multiple times over the decades. So every 10 years they are amending this particular article and they are extending this reservation. So though it was originally meant to be present only for 10 years after the commencement of constitution, this article 334, they are repeatedly amending this particular article and they are extending this particular reservation that is provided to SCs and STs, right? And also article 334 also deals with this Anglo-Indians. So what was the deadline? So the deadline to stop the reservation, it was extended by 10 years or so. So whenever the article 334 was it was amended, this particular reservation, it was extended by 10 years, and 10 years from 1960 again until 1970, again until 1980. So in this way, every 10 years they are extending this particular reservation that is provided. So this was done multiple times over the decades, right? So starting with the Constitution Amendment, 8th Amendment Act in 1969, and all the way up to the Constitution 104th Amendment Act in 2019, the deadline was stretched over and over again. So do remember this 8th Amendment Act in 1969, and then until this 104th Amendment Act in 2019. So till here, from 8th Amendment Act to 104th Amendment Act, through various different amendments, they have been extending this particular reservation that is provided. Slowly they are extending it by 10 years, again by 10 years. So multiple times they have been stretching this and they are extending this. And the 2019 Act, it terminated the reservation for Anglo-Indian community, and this fixed 2030 as the deadline to end reservation for SCs and STs in the Lok Sabha and legislative assemblies. So by this 2019 Act that we have, it said that we are going to stop or terminate the reservation for Anglo-Indian community. So we have seen that this article 334, it deals with reservation of seats for SCs, STs and also for Anglo-Indians. So whatever reservation that we are providing for Anglo-Indian community, that would be stopped, and the timeline for that or the deadline for that, it was fixed at 2030. So for the year, by the year 2030, it will end the reservation for SCs and STs in the Lok Sabha and also in the legislative assemblies. So what would happen by the year 2030? SC/ST communities, they have enjoyed reservation for 80 years. Right. So right from 1950, if you count, by 2030, what will happen? They have already enjoyed this reservation for 80 years since the adoption of our constitution. So originally, when our constitution was adopted, they said this reservation would prevail until 10 years. But what we have done, we have stretched it, we have extended it every time, we have made multiple amendments to the articles, and slowly we have brought down it to 80 long years, right? So this is what is it would be decided by our constitution bench. So it will examine whether parliament can use its constituent power to repeatedly amend this article 334 merely in order to keep this reservation of seats for SCs and ST communities in Lok Sabha and also in the state legislative assemblies, right? So this would be examined by our constitution bench. So the court will also examine the validity of this 104th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2019, and within this act also it will examine that part to which it pertains only to the extent of its application to this SC/ST communities, and it would not go into the termination of quota for Anglo-Indian community after 70 years of enjoying the benefit, right? So this is what is our reservation, and the constitution bench, it is trying to examine this validity of extending this quota. So we have been extending this quota again and again. So what would be the validity, whether it is constitutionally valid or not? So this would be examined by this constitution bench. So hope you are clear with this. So do remember this article numbers and also the amendments that were done. So moving forward to the last article of the day, oldest yet fossils of a plant-eating dinosaur. It was found in the state of Rajasthan. So let's have a look at this. So this would be important for us from prelims point of view. So scientists from IIT Roorkee, they have characterized dinosaur fossils from the Middle Jurassic period. Right. So this geological time scale that we study under geography. So you would have definitely gone through this geological time scale. So under this we have various time periods, like we have this Jurassic period, we have Triassic period, we have Cretaceous period, etc. So we have different kinds of periods. So under this they have found some fossils from the Middle Jurassic period. So where were they found? They were found in the Thar desert near the Jaisalmer basin. So this was by the Geological Survey of India. So do remember, it was recently found near our Thar desert near the Jaisalmer basin. So it was found in the state of Rajasthan recently. And at 167 million years old, they are the oldest known diplodocoid fossils in the world. Right. So scientists, they have given a particular name to this dinosaur, that is Thorosaurus indicus. So why did they give this particular name? Because Thoro was given because it was found in the Thar desert. Saurus because from the Greek word sauros it means lizard. So these dinosaurs, they belong to this lizard family, right? And then why indicus? Because it is from its Indian origin. So this is why it was named as Thorosaurus indicus. So you might get a question in prelims like recently a species which was in news named Thorosaurus indicus. It is a species of what? So maybe it can be an amphibian or a dinosaur. In this way, you may be given some options. So it is a dinosaur fossil that was found recently. So this dinosaur, it was named as Thorosaurus indicus. So here we have seen that it was 167 million years old. So what was the geography of India 167 million years ago? So think about it. We have studied in geography about this Gondwana land. Right. So 167 million years ago, the geography of India, it is not as if it is right now. So right now, whatever we see India map on uh, right now, so it is not the same 167 million years ago. Right. So at that time when this Thorosaurus lived, India was not where it is right now. It was a part of a group of continents in the southern hemisphere. So in that group, what all countries were present? It was Africa, we used to have South America, Madagascar, Antarctica. So all these together, it used to be called as Gondwana land. So at that time, this Thorosaurus, it used to be living in India, right? So as we know, Indian landmass, it is one of the most important places for early evolutionary history of this sauropod dinosaurs, right? So do remember this. So there was a discovery of new dinosaur from the Middle Jurassic period in Rajasthan. So when it is found in Rajasthan, what does it mean? That was it found in isolation in Rajasthan? No, it should be there should be a connection of this particular dinosaur which was discovered, and it must be looked at in conjunction with the previously discovered dinosaurs in India. So previously at which all places it was discovered. So what is the connection? So what was the route that they have used? So in terms of this Gondwana land, half all this geography is connected at what all places this dinosaurs have lived. And if we look at that data, we can definitely say that Indian landmass, it is one of the most important places for this dinosaurs and all. Right. So this is also one more point that you have to remember, and also go through this geological time scale. And if you look at back in 2006 also, a team has found another Middle Jurassic sauropod dinosaur in Gujarat. Right. So right now we have found in Rajasthan. Right. So earlier we have also found a particular Middle Jurassic sauropod dinosaur in the Kutch basin of Gujarat. So in the Kutch basin of Gujarat it was found, and right now it is in Jaisalmer basin of Rajasthan. So in Rajasthan and also in Gujarat, we have a lot of dinosaur fossils that were found. So that fossil that was found in 2006 in Gujarat, so that was also the oldest fossil of that group at that particular time. So do remember this regarding this fossils and all. And Indian landmass, it is one of the most important places for the early evolutionary history of sauropod dinosaurs. So this is about this article. So let's have a look at some previous year questions that we have on these topics. So which of the following are regarded as the main features of rule of law? This was asked in 2018. So here you can see the correct answer is limitation of powers, equality before law, and liberty and civil rights. So they are the main features of this rule of law, but not public's responsibility to the government. So let's have a look at from mains PYQ. So this question was asked in mains in 2018. So whether National Commission for Scheduled Castes NCSC, it can enforce implementation of constitutional reservation for scheduled castes in the religious minority institutions. So today we have already discussed about Article 334, wherein it provides reservation for SCs, STs and also Anglo Indians in the Lok Sabha and also in the state legislative assemblies, right? So this is a bit of a connected question for this. So this is regarding our National Commission for Scheduled Castes. So whether it can enforce the implementation of constitutional reservation for SCs in religious minority institutions examine. So this is one previous year question that we have. So that's all for today. So hope you have liked this video. Please do follow us on all our social media channels, and please do like, share and subscribe our video, and do subscribe Forum IAS. Thank you so much for watching this video. Bye bye.